Hello, mate.
Hey James, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Other than slight sleep deprivation, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, well, mate, I was gonna say, yeah, like how was your first 2 weeks as a dad and as an FPL player?
Yeah, I mean, I still managed to prioritize well, I say prioritize. I obviously prioritize my child, but I I still got my team submitted in between. So um, yeah, I can't remember how well I did last week, but yeah, this week was quite bad until Kurt
Zoom.
Zuma decided to get a haul. So I was, yeah, pretty pleased about that. 15 points. Um,
Oh, is that? Oh, of course, he got the clean sheet as well. Oh, mate.
yeah, three bonus as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
So
gonna lie, like this whole year has just been an absolute disaster since we started the podcast. It's just nothing could have gone. Yeah, like, I'm just I'm so far behind. Like it's absolutely crazy. Like I think I've said it on here before, but the one thing that does give me hope is
yeah,
that I was seriously far behind about 3 seasons ago, and I managed to get in like I think it was like top 200K. So like
yeah,
if I can do that again this season, then I'll be absolutely over the moon with that. And yeah,
it's
so
definitely possible.
yeah, and like it's a complete restart after Christmas as well. I think as well, like I the massive thing, like this is oh no, I did it last season as well, but this is the first season. Well, it feels like the first season where I'm really struggling to keep up with the fixtures. As
Mm,
in like keeping I normally have it down like the next 5 fixtures, who's got the best fixtures. And I'm just really
yeah,
struggling
yeah.
to find time to like men yeah, just log that mentally and like even find
Plan ahead
time
of
to
it.
look at it. Yeah. And I do think
Hmm.
that is massive in FPL, just knowing the fixtures like off by heart. Because I'm going into this chat now and I've got all these players that I want to talk about, but then I'm like, well, I don't even know their fixtures off by heart, and I feel embarrassed to say that because I used to know that all fine. So yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I'm looking for a bit of help with that if you can aid it. If not, we've got
yeah.
our phones as well to go through
I'm up for a challenge.
it. So yeah, I guess in summary, like we thoughts on the game week and how much points did you get?
Yeah. So I'll start with points because I know that 61. So I was below the average before Zuma. It was literally just Captain Haaland and Mitrovic, I think, that returned until Zuma came in. So yeah, to have come out with, I think it was like the most minuscule red arrow. So I'm still 500k, which I was really pleased about considering, yeah, I was 850k before Zuma decided to return. So yeah, that's kind of a summary of my game week, really. Everyone else failed. My hit. So I took a hit for Foden and Martinelli, for Harvey Barnes, who scored, and Trossard, who scored.
Oh mate.
But I wasn't actually annoyed about it because this would have annoyed me so much previously. But I've sort of learned to think if I've made the logical decision, I can't be mad. And I had to get in Foden and I had to get in an Arsenal player for the next two. And Barnes
Yeah,
away to Wolves. Wolves have a good defence. And obviously I back Trossard, but at City, you'd expect him to not to blank in that one. So yeah, that was in it technically that was really annoying because that was about a probably 16, 17 point swing. But actually it's just FPL. Like it's the logical decision. My team set up nicely for the next three games. I'm not bothered about it. Um, so yeah, I mean, thoughts on the game week in relation to your other question. Let me just get the results up. It feels like a while ago now. Maybe having a kid, the days
yeah,
just become
every hour.
the weekend was what 2 days ago.
Yeah, literally, mate.
Feels like
The
a
game
week
week
ago, John.
just doesn't
Honestly.
even mean 24 hours since it ended.
Yeah, I know. It literally feels like a week ago, mate. Um, yeah, looking at I mean, well, Villa was crazy. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Brentford. Uh, I mean, Newcastle. Yeah, we'll have to talk about Newcastle because they just keep on doing the business.
I do want to say
Um,
though, with Brentford,
yeah,
like this is what I feel like I expect from them. Like
mm,
okay, I didn't expect it from. Well, I did think Villa would have a quick bounce back because when you look at their lineup,
yeah,
it is like I had them to win on my predictor, and it just
okay,
made sense. But like I feel like this is what Brentford do. Like, and I've never been an Ivan. Oh, I was an Ivan Toney owner right at the start of last season, and he frustrated
hmm,
me. And I've never gone back. And over the season, I think he's just fine for like if you just keep him.
uh-huh,
If there's no better strikers anyway. But
yeah,
like this is what Brentford do. It feels like they flatter to deceive. They have these astonishing, well together wins, and then they
yeah,
go on a big losing streak, or just
yeah,
lose to Aston Villa 4-0. And I
particularly
just
away from home.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like so many times we've all said like, oh, that was a big shot, but it's not like they just do this.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and I don't think any of us can be in a rush to jump on Villa right away. And like our opinion on Brentford hasn't really changed outside of, like you said, Tony, maybe Raya, and then there's not really much else. So that doesn't really trigger my FPL head much. I think the ones that triggered my FPL head more, looking at the Saturday games of the two Merseyside clubs, like Everton. Obviously, I think they've got a few decent fixtures leading up to the World Cup, and they won
Yeah.
3-0, put in a performance. Calvert Lewin back, Gordon scored, etc. Um, I don't know what you think about Everton as an option. While we mention them, is there
Yeah, I
anyone
did.
you'd even consider from Everton?
Oh,
Because their
Gordon.
fixtures, yeah, fixtures they've got just quickly are away to Fulham, who are conceding a lot, home to Leicester, who we know concede lots, and then away to Bournemouth, who obviously are a newly promoted team.
Yeah, I
So yeah, you
guess
said
like
Gordon, you would.
well, I guess you saying that, like Leicester have got four clean sheets out of five, and
True,
Bournemouth
true.
have been better defensively. So
Yeah, they
all of a
have.
sudden,
They
that's
have.
not as inviting. And I don't think Everton have. I was surprised to see them win 3-0. Like I thought
Yeah.
Palace. I thought after Palace's win last week and going behind, I thought they'd go on a run now. Um,
Hmm.
and I
Same.
was really surprised. I was watching it with Jason, and I mean, yeah, like Palace just did nothing. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it was Palace being awful or Everton that good, but Awobi was incredible. Not, I
Was
still
he?
don't think he's an FPL asset. Um,
No.
he's
No.
still not doing that bad this season. I don't know what is his. I've got it here. I mean, he got 2 assists on the day. He's actually got one
A
goal and
few
five
return.
assists for the season, so
It's
he's
not
doing
awful.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, Gordon would be the only one.
Hmm.
I just wouldn't touch in the next 3 games. I wouldn't touch Calvert-Lewin to be honest. Um,
Nah.
I'd
Well,
just
why
be
is that?
injury. Just I find him
Just
so
purely in, yeah.
yeah, and I just think I'd
Uh,
rather have Mitrovic. I'd rather have well, I just think there's more strikers that are a lot more desirable.
yeah.
What would you
That's the key, I
consider?
think. Yeah.
Dominic
No,
Calvert-Lewin?
to be honest, I ask you the question. I think if my front line I wasn't happy with, I'd consider him. But like again, Mitrovic, no problems with. Tony keeps ticking over, and Haaland, I'm not changing. So yeah, I just think he could be another case of a Skamaka for West Ham, where I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, I don't watching that Bournemouth game yesterday, the way Bournemouth set up and everything, but there's just there's there's reliable strikers and then there's hit and miss strikers. Skamaka, I think, is I don't know West the way West Ham played. I don't know the way maybe it's the way Bournemouth set up, but it's just there's strikers like that. I just think he's going to get goals some occasion, some weeks, but he's not reliable. Then there's players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like you said, that could just like snap his ACL any week and isn't reliable. But Tony's on pens and keeps ticking over. Mitrovic is on pens and keeps ticking over. And Haaland is just a machine. And I look at those three, and then obviously Kane chucked in as well. And they're the four that I trust every week, or at least over the course of a few game weeks, to know they're going to get at least a return over the next three. Whereas the others, I'm just like not as not as kind of convinced, if you like, or I don't feel as secure. I don't
Yeah.
know if
No,
that makes sense,
I
but
completely agree with that. Like definitely. Well, I do have a question for you actually, kind of similar. Like um so when we're talking about Anthony Gordon, like he
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, even with the fixtures, he'd be pretty low down on my list. But a
Same.
massive reason for that is because I think most of us are finding budget's not an issue right now. And
Uh-huh.
they like every week I'm watching Almiron score, and I'm just like, okay, I'm really low down in the world rankings right now. Yet
Mm,
Almiron, who do I take out? Like, do I take out Foden? No. Mount? Well, yeah, I could take out Mount. Um, Zaha, no. Saka, no. And
hmm.
then and then I've got Jesus and Mitrovic plus Haaland up front. So
Hmm.
obviously the simple is I can replace him for Andreas, and Almiron is in a um is in right now a much better team, and he's scoring
Hmm.
goals when Andreas is only getting assists. But at the same
Yeah,
time, what am I just going to have Almiron on my bench because I can't? I
exactly.
really struggle to know. And again, like when you come to players like Gordon, like you're not going to choose Gordon over Almiron right now, are you? And
Probably
presumably
not.
most people are in the same position as me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think your question probably links more to they FPL kind of experts talk about players having a higher ceiling, don't they? And who could smash it. And I just think I look at Gordon and I'd be surprised if scored more than one goal in a game. I look at Almiron as well, and I'd be surprised if he scored more than one goal in a game. I look at Foden and I think I could see him scoring two or three. I look at Saka and I could see him scoring two or three. I look at Martinelli and I could see him getting a brace here and there. Um, then obviously you've got some of the other more expensive guys to consider. Mount, like you said, between I wouldn't rush to swap Mount for someone like Almiron or Gordon if we're talking about them only getting a max of one return. But you probably could do better than Mount. I just don't know if, yeah, I just don't know if I'd be jump desperate to jump on a Gordon or an Almiron right now. I feel like they're good shouts, but are there better options? And I guess it depends on what your team's looking like. Um, like Best just jumped on Almiron, and a lot of people have just jumped on Almiron, and I get it, but I don't. I really like the guy. Like, I'd love it if next week he just smacked in a hat trick, but I just can't see it.
Really?
And
He
so,
has. He did get 2 goals in a game recently, though, didn't
did he? I mean, he did actually. One was a tap in,
he?
the other was a
Yeah.
good finish,
The other one was a
but
worldie.
was a good, yeah, no, it was good. I do like him. But then Villa with the new sort of manager bounce, are they going to make it more difficult at the weekend? Possibly.
Mm.
Away to
I
Southampton.
I
I don't know.
still I don't know if this is really harsh on Eddie Howe as well, but I am just waiting for Eddie Howe to, because every season with Bournemouth they always started well and then they had an absolute shocking second half of the season, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
waiting for that to happen. And I don't know. I feel like because my family is Newcastle fans, I want Newcastle to start failing now. As an Arsenal fan, I'm starting to get a bit worried, and well, and just because it's in the family as well. But
Hmm.
yeah, I do think I don't know if this is with my heart or my head, but I think that Eddie Howe, I think it's gonna the wheels are gonna come off a bit second half of the season. But there is a
Interesting.
restart with the World Cup, which could be perfect for him. So it'll be a totally
Yeah.
different season. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because obviously that's going to
Yeah.
affect Almiron. And then secondly, Callum Wilson and Isak look like they're very injury prone. So there's going to be
Hmm.
spells where they're both injured by the looks of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I mean, they've been sort of just strategically getting results in some games, haven't they? They've been grinding out a lot of like one goal wins with just good defending and nicking the goal for an Almiron or a Wilson or whoever it is. So yeah, I'd be surprised if they sustained the constant streak. I'd have thought they'd get found out eventually with just relying on. I know they've had a few bigger wins, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't mind seeing them do well at the moment. I just don't know if I'd like Trippier is a must-have, but then beyond that, there's no one I feel like is a must-have in their team. Um, So
Who,
yeah, I don't
who do
really.
you actually
Yeah, I
think is
don't
the best goalkeeper right now? Because I was
know.
going to say, would
Yeah.
do you not feel like Pope is? He's not really, but do you not think that Pope is probably the most natural goalkeeper and have a double up Newcastle defence?
The thing is, I've watched Beth have a double Newcastle defence the last 6 weeks,
Yeah, they
and
have.
Pope hasn't done brilliantly for her because they've conceded a few goals.
Uh,
Um,
Has he made many
over,
saves as well?
not like masses because they've been defending quite well. So
Yeah.
I mean, like the way you're right about Kep. I mean, the way Kep has been playing, I expect the man to get man of the match every game at the moment. He's a
Oh,
man on a mission, isn't
mate, I'm not
he?
gonna lie. That is probably the most frustrating thing in the world, though. Watching that incredible save goes over the line, and it's the same weekend. I'd take out Henderson for Kepa. Like,
Oh
man, that is
yeah.
just so frustrating.
And your Danny Ward was on your bench, right? Who somehow got one more point.
Yeah, yeah. Danny Ward and Henderson both smashed it this week. Oh, actually, I bought in Kepa last week, didn't I? And oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
and he was lower scoring than both of them last week as well. It's
yeah. That's
absolutely
why.
typical.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, he does look like an absolute steal. He's gone up now,
Mm,
4.5, but 4.5 for a Chelsea keeper, like
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. With the save he's making, he's looking pretty good. If I had to go for one now, I'd probably be tempted to just chuck him in. Although Chelsea's next three fixtures aren't great. Brighton away, Arsenal, and then away to Newcastle. So you could see them conceding in all of those games.
Oh
Um,
mate, we do need to talk about Brighton actually.
yeah,
Like,
could
I
do
guess,
briefly if you
well,
want.
what's that?
Yeah, we could do briefly if you want.
Yeah, like, well, I've got a list of I've got a list of midfielders, right?
Mm,
So I'm just going to list them all off: Foden, Saka, Martinelli, Xhaka, Bowen, Wilf, Eze, Almiron, Trossard, Rashford, Madison, Barnes, Mount, Gordon. So I kind of was
mm.
wondering out of that list, like who your top five are for
Yeah.
the next 3 game weeks. But
Okay.
also, like, just with Trossard, like, I mean, Trossard
Mm.
absolutely trolled. I think it was over 1 million people this week, and I had him
Including yeah.
had him since that haul against Liverpool, and then selling him. But he's done this so many times to FPL players
Yeah.
where they've
Yeah.
owned him. They've owned him for too long, and then he returns on the game week that everyone sells him, and
Yeah.
it is just painful. But like, what is going on with Brighton? Like, are you guys actually going to
Mm.
start putting the ball in the back of the net more frequently? Is Trossard actually a good asset for the next 3 weeks? But also, I mean, obviously we got a
Yeah.
long break, but is he going to be a good asset this season?
Yeah. I think he's a good asset this season. I do think he's going to keep ticking over. He's that good. He's going to keep popping up with goals. I just think he's proving that it's hard to predict when he's going to get the goals. Partly, I had a good chat with my mate about this the other day, who's a Brighton fan, and he said part of the reason why Trossard keeps scoring against the better clubs is because we're hitting the better clubs are playing more attacking, expansive football. Trossard has a bit more freedom to run at players and shoot and get into positions, getting behind. Like the way Forest set up against us in that game was so park the bussy. It was horrible to watch as a Brighton fan. Same Spurs did it to us as well. And it's like in those games, we're just gonna struggle to get the goal, I think, because we don't always have that cutting edge. We haven't had that cutting edge for a long time. Trossard has shown the most signs of having cutting edge out of a player, any player that we've got. So I do think Trossard is a good player, and I do think he's a good one to own. I wouldn't have any issues having him, but again, it comes back to is there better options, isn't it? Like from your list, Foden's better, Saka's better. I'd say Wilfred Zaha reluctantly. I just feel better about having him, partly because he's on penalties as well. Trossard isn't on penalties, and he is this. Well, no, Trossard's our main talisman as well, but Wilf, he's kind of been more consistently proven over the years, hasn't he? And
Yeah,
his next
I
three
think
fixtures are
it's
arguably better than our next three fixtures.
yeah, that's true. He is annoying, Pete. I mean, me as well, but he is annoying a lot of owners right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he returned like the other week though against Wolves. Like he is ticking
Yeah.
over. Um, so I'd argue, and again, actually no, I won't. Yeah, I was going to say I could see him scoring two in a game, but as proven, I could see Trossard scoring two in a game as well. So that's a null and void point. But I would put Wilf slightly above Trossard at the moment, at least, while the next three fixtures. And then who were your other ones? You said, did you say Martinelli?
Yeah, so Martinelli, Xhaka, Bowen, um, Eze, Almiron, Rashford, Madison, Barnes, Mount, Gordon. So I know it's a long list. And like you
So I
don't
mean, but like, yeah. Fixtures aside, Bowen and Madison are the two that other ones I'd look at. I just feel like Foden, Saka, Madison, Zaha, and Bowen are all just like reliable players that tick over. A lot of like some of them, like Bowen's on pens, Zaha's on pens. Um, I just trust them over the course of a season to return well for me. Like Eze's more sporadic. Almiron, I feel, is going to dry up at some point. Xhaka, I know he keeps returning, but it's surely got to stop at some point. Like I wouldn't trust Xhaka every game to get a return compared to a Saka or a Zaha.
yeah, I
Um,
mean I mean I will say like
Barnes
he's
isn't
just
reliable.
always around the box now though. Like he's just
Yeah,
there,
I
mate.
know.
Like but like every week I'm like I keep on saying to myself, well, you should start considering it. And I don't consider it. And it's
Mm,
exactly the same reason as Gordon and Almiron. Like, are you going to take out an attacking midfielder that's priced? Like for some reason, it's so much more appealing having an 8 million than a 5 million. But it
yeah.
shouldn't be if the points are
I know, you're
equal.
right. You're right. Yeah, it's partly where I'm getting swayed, I think, in the discussion, but I don't know, but then again, like Almiron he's only just started getting some points. You know, people like Madison and Zaha and Bowen, season after season. I say season. Bowen's probably not. It's fairly recent, but you know, they just consistently tick over. Saka consistently ticks over. Foden's coming into form that you just can't ignore him. Um, that's where I think I go, and I wonder if that's why my rank's kind of in a solid place because I've probably tended to pick players that are less risky. I've picked sort of more reliable assets that I know are gonna tick over for me. Like I might get the odd bad game week like this one where Foden decides to come off the bench and
Oh, mate.
Martinelli doesn't return and Zaha doesn't return. But I know for a fact that in the next week or two they're going to return. Whereas I couldn't say that. It wouldn't like if Almiron went the next three games without getting a return, or Eze went the next three games without getting a return. I don't think
Yeah.
no one would bat an eyelid. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, fair
No,
enough." If Xhaka, Barnes, some of those other guys you mentioned, if they win the next three games, they're getting a return. You'd be like, "Yeah," because they're not quite as. You'd be
mate,
more
that is a
shocked with the
great
others.
point. Yeah.
I think that's probably where I come from with that.
Well, so you're
Mm.
saying Foden, Saka, Bowen, Madison, Martinelli.
Yeah, I think so. Did I say
Not
yeah? No,
not in that
Zaha,
order.
Madison, Zaha, Madison, Bowen,
Oh,
Foden, Saka. But yeah, Martinelli arguably over Bowen because Bowen's not been the player he was last season.
oh, interesting. So you'd have Zaha above Bowen and as well
I think, I think so. At least for the next
for the
three
fixtures.
fixtures.
Yeah.
Although Bowen's aren't that bad,
I
but
was gonna
he's not
say what
been doing
who
as
are
well.
who's Bowen's fixtures?
They're not bad to us. I'm looking at now. Away to Man United. Man United are doing better. Going to be difficult. But then home to Palace, home to Leicester is pretty good to be honest. So he might be worth a punt. He's not been the Bowen of last season, has he?
No.
Which is where Martinelli I'd feel a bit better about. But then Arsenal have Park the Bus
Chelsea.
Forest next, then away to Chelsea, and then away to Wolves, who are both solid defensively. So
I do fancy us
yeah,
though quite strongly against Wolves and Forest, to be honest. Like I know Forest just
yeah,
had that win against Liverpool, but I don't they don't fear me and we're going to attack them like crazy. Um,
yeah.
I'm so glad
Uh,
after last week's performance that we've got Forest in between and like from FPL point as well. Like, I think that's great because
mhm.
Like I wouldn't like to go into the Chelsea game as an Arsenal fan with Arsenal assets as well after the Southampton loss because they just looked a bit. I guess like someone at work said tired, but I feel like
Yeah,
they just looked a bit lackluster. Maybe didn't want it that much in the second half. I don't know if
yeah,
that's a bit harsh
yeah.
on them, but yeah,
I
um,
can see that.
yeah. Okay, that's really good though to talk about that. We got a few other questions. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, you kind of answered the one. Like eye test and stats is Wilf a better asset than Eze, but I think like you got such a great point there. Like if Eze blanks for 3 game weeks, you don't really bat an eyelid. When if Wilf blanks for 3 game weeks, which he has done, it's really frustrating. But
Yeah. Bit
because we
more
know he's better
surprised
than that.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Just a quick one.
yeah,
So obviously Liverpool losing.
yeah.
Um, I I
I did
guess.
want to talk about them.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I did want to talk about Liverpool as well, to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. I kind of just wanted to ask you like what are your thoughts on Liverpool, like and their assets in general. Like
uh,
Jason took a -4 to get in Trent, and he was on the bench. Like
oh, yeah.
that's just brutal. And I'm not gonna lie, Trent really scared me this week. I thought Trent could be
Mm,
a massive because he's still massively owned. But yeah, what
yeah.
are your thoughts on Liverpool assets through to the World Cup?
I don't know. I was going to ask you exactly the same thing. I'm really confused about Liverpool. I've got Salah in my team as kind of a way of covering their run of fixtures. If you've got a Liverpool asset, I'd say hold them because they've got home to Leeds next, who have been one of the leakiest defenses. Away to Spurs, obviously a bit trickier, but then home Southampton's a nice fixture to end before the World Cup. So if you've got them, keep them. But after that Forest game, I wouldn't be rushing them in. It's frustrating because I feel like they just should be doing better every week. You think why are they not doing better? Like I'd love to have taken a punt on someone like a Darwin Núñez if he was fit for home to Leeds and
Oh,
Forest and home
mate,
Southampton. But
that was shocking.
yeah,
Him and Trent being benched blew my mind. I didn't even know he was injured. When
yeah.
did it get announced? Because he was the talk all of last week. Get Darwin in.
Yeah, there was, I think, like a few hours before kickoff, my mate messaged me to say there's been some news about him like having failed a late fitness test or something. And that's why some people had news about don't get him in. But outside of that, yeah, he was the one to have a punt on if he wanted to, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, if he was like announced 100% fit for home to Leeds, I still think he's probably worth a punt. But I wouldn't be going out my way to do it because
yeah,
Liverpool are just so untrustworthy.
yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, with his fitness, and I guess
Mm,
he's had suspension and fitness issues. Like,
mm,
it's not looking good, is it? Like, and it felt
no,
like only yesterday we were at the start of the season after watching that first game against Fulham, and I was
yeah,
terrified of him.
yeah,
Um, but um, yeah, I mean, like, so what? I'm not gonna lie, like when you first said you had Salah, I first thought like, oh, that's a lot of money spent. But then when you
it
say the
is.
fixtures like Leeds at Anfield, like that is a big. That could be. To be honest with you, I don't care if Liverpool are in form or not. The way
Mm,
Leeds go at the teams, like there's going to be a lot of space for Salah to exploit. Um,
yeah,
like it is less. It doesn't look as good with like Carvalho or someone else on the left hand side. But if they give that
no,
space to Salah and Firmino to yeah to play in that nice 10 role with off
hmm,
Salah, like
yeah.
yeah, I guess that could be quite big. Like, are you yeah? What are you quite hopeful of that
I think had I been playing my wild card like this week or something, I probably would have avoided him based on what happened last game and the money, like you say. But at the same time, I'm quite happy owning him going into this week. I'm hopeful he might actually do something this week. If he doesn't do something this week, then I'll be really tempted to just sack him off in 15 and
before?
get someone else in for the last two games because
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to deal with it anymore. But yeah, I'm happy with him this week. And if he does well this week, then I can sort of be more at ease going into the final two games for the World Cup, knowing that he's got a return and he's got two more games to add to it. So yeah, that's
And
my thoughts really.
Liverpool defense, would you back them?
No, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if like someone like a Trent who can get attacking returns as well. I still think he'd be worth a shout because he can get attacking returns against Leeds and Southampton, and then they might nick one clean sheet or two if you're lucky. So yeah, I still think they'd be worth a go. But again, I wouldn't be going out of my way to get them. I definitely wouldn't be taking a minus to get them in right now with how unreliable they're proving.
Mm,
Um, I don't blame Jay for it because Forest and Leeds,
yeah,
and then Southampton, he had a nice run of fixtures there to have a punt on it, but yeah, so disappointing.
yeah, man, I
um,
feel right. Okay, so Foden or Saka? I mean, obviously going through the midfielders, like it's a tough one, but I do think Foden. I think yeah, like it was really frustrating him being benched, but at the same time, like I do think that only makes him more inviting because he's probably had his rest now.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I would always like I'm a massive, obviously I'm a massive Saka fan, and I just think he's Arsenal's best player by well, yeah, he's Arsenal's best player. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, Foden just looks like even though he didn't effectively do that much against Liverpool, I did think that he
Hmm.
was still outstanding. And he did things like he drived with the ball like I didn't think I've sorry. He drived with the
That's all
ball
right.
like I don't think I've seen him do before. But
Hmm.
most importantly, he's in the box and he gets goals. When I do think Saka will get more assists, will be more
Yeah.
assist focused than Foden um, over the course of the season, short term and long term. So
Yeah.
Foden, I'm saying,
Yeah. I was split on it 50-50 last week, but this week I would go Foden because their next three fixtures are brilliant. And
yeah,
I do think Forest will make it difficult for you. After watching how they set up against us and Liverpool, they're going to sit so deep. It's going to be difficult to break through them, and you'll probably still win and get a couple of goals, but I don't think they'll make it easy because they just play in a really difficult way. And then yeah, Chelsea and Wolves again, I think are fairly difficult. Again, I think he'll do well, but Foden's the one for me out of those two.
yeah,
The
definitely.
next three anyway. Um, yeah. Do we have time to quickly talk about Spurs?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I know we've only got 6 minutes, but would you go near so away to Bournemouth? I know they're setting up quite well, but still away to Bournemouth. Home to Liverpool, they could demolish them with the way Liverpool are playing, and then
Well,
home to
mate,
Leeds to
I think
finish.
that's strong though.
They
Demolish.
could demolish them.
Like,
It wouldn't surprise you if they did with the
well,
way that Liverpool playing.
oh,
But
I
then
don't
Spurs
know.
haven't done that brilliantly the last couple of games.
Yeah, I mean they've been awful, really.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So
yeah,
who's
true.
their first game? They yeah, away to Bournemouth, um, Liverpool, and then who's their final one?
Home to Leeds, which is
Leeds.
juicy.
I've got to be honest.
Maybe,
I,
yeah.
I would happily have. Well, actually, Kane just keeps on doing it, doesn't he? Like I
Mhm.
keep thinking, like I can't believe I don't own Kane. Like even though it's only one goal as well, I think it's worth it. Like
Yeah.
I'm really tempted to swap Jesus out for him. Like,
Mhm.
um, but
You
yeah,
got you got to
I
have him for
do.
Forest, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna do it. It's just something that I keep thinking about. Um,
Yeah,
I, yeah. I don't know. For me, I feel like the only players I really want of Spurs are defenders. Um,
yeah,
and they're just not. They're so It's just so difficult to call. Like, what's his name? Perisic has just been such a letdown. It's probably the letdown of the season, to be honest. Everyone thought he was going to break the game. Or
yeah,
not everyone, but it was a
yeah,
big shout, you know. Um,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. The only Spurs player that I feel like I can really trust right now is Eric Dyer, and like I'm not gonna be rushing to get Eric Dyer in my team.
yeah.
Uh,
No, fair.
I say that, and Harry Kane. I'd love to get a Harry
Yeah,
Kane. What are your thoughts then?
yeah, yeah. I'm with you to be honest. Yeah. Now you explain it like that. I don't think I will be rushing to get one in. What I might do is if I have a transfer or two come game week 16, I might if I can make it work, I might chuck in a Spurs asset for home to Leeds because that might be a nice way to finish before the World Cup. But yeah,
I, I
probably
guess just with Leeds, I do feel like yeah, it could be. I do feel like they really could start to. I don't know. I don't know if this is me or harsh, or
yeah.
I've got it wrong, but I feel like they could start becoming the Leeds of last season, where they go so hard in attack that there's going to be
Mm,
massive holes exploited. So yeah, I do
yeah.
think like Liverpool versus Leeds this weekend, and that Spurs versus Leeds. But Spurs, like, they need to click and click quick because
Yeah.
even though they're still sitting pretty, like that's going to fall quickly with the teams behind them.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I mean, Spurs are definitely one to watch, but it feels like we've been saying that all season and nothing's got better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I don't even. Yeah, there's not many there you would rush to get in your team. Like to have to rejig your whole team just to get one of them
Yeah,
in right now. It doesn't seem worth it, does it? So yeah.
no.
No, I hear you on that.
Um, yeah, was there anything else you wanted to cut? I know one another question. Um, oh, briefly talk about Man United.
Yeah, I was gonna chuck in that as a golden pick suggestion actually.
Oh
Well, but
yeah.
let's talk about him. Bruno Fernandes, right? I watched the game against Spurs. He looked really good. He was looking a bit close to the Bruno Fernandes of old. He got a goal. He scored a disallowed goal. He was involved in a lot. I just think if you wanted a really cheeky differential punt for home to West Ham, away to Villa, away to Fulham, if there's a way I could squeeze him in as a punt, I could see him doing something over the next few weeks, and not many people have him. I think he's someone that people aren't talking about. But watching that game, I was like, hang on a sec, this guy could do something. So I'd be interested to see how he does over the next three. Outside of
There's
that, Rashford, Darlow. What about you? Yeah, what are your thoughts on what I just said as well?
yeah, oh mate,
I
like
know,
that's
got not much
I
time.
haven't really considered him. Like he's 2.3% owned.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know about Man United. I feel like the only Man United asset would be Rashford. I don't really care about the misses either because I just think I think there's like Man United players just get over talked about anyway. And
Yeah.
like he's getting in the positions. He's got I know I've seen him have good finishes, but you are like that.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give that a really good think over. I think that's a really great way to end the podcast with Bruno being like your top pick for the weekend. But
It's more of a differential punt rather than I think
yeah,
you'll score the most this weekend. But if you wanted to chase some rank, I think he's worth a consideration. That's all I'll say.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna be really boring, mate. I just think Haaland at home away, sorry, to
Yeah,
Leicester, even though
has
they've had
to
these
be.
clean sheets. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
has to
uh,
be.
um
Yeah. Had Salah scored a hat trick last week, I might have said him, but not off the back
I'm
of that
not
performance.
gonna lie though, I really fancy us against Forest. Like I know what you were saying about them sitting back. I don't
Yeah,
I don't think it matters. Like this Arsenal team attacks really when they really go heavy in the first 20, 30 minutes. And
yeah.
we'll get long shots. Maybe even a Shaka is a good shout for this
He
game week.
probably will be. Yeah,
But yeah, I do
nice.
fancy Jesus. But anyway, we're back in the last 20 seconds, so better
Yeah,
clock off, man. But
no, it's
yeah,
good.
great chat, man. Really enjoyed it, and look
Same.
forward to catching up next week.
Cool. Cheers, guys. Thanks,
Oh,
mate.
good luck.